Welcome back, everybody. It's Andrew here. We've got some big updates for seniors regarding the next stimulus package, stimulus checks for seniors, and what's going on with rumors and reports saying that if Donald Trump becomes president in 2024, he is likely to approve more stimulus checks, as well as a lot of people speculating on the fact that if he was still the president now, he would be approving more stimulus checks for seniors more quickly than President Biden is doing. Now, of course, referring to the $1,000 to $2,000 debit card stimulus that Bernie Sanders is trying to include in this package. So, yes, we have another Donald Trump update, one of the most polarizing updates on this channel. So, we only do these once in a blue moon, but it's going to be pretty interesting, folks. We're going to talk about what would potentially be happening if Trump was still president, what could happen in 2024 with stimulus checks if he wins that re-election in 2024, and we're going to do a quick update on daily trending news regarding the speculation as to whether or not he's actually going to run again in 2024, and what critics are saying regarding grading President Trump's work when he was in office for those 4 years. So let's discuss the details, but before we jump into it, do me a quick favor, hit like, hit subscribe, and share this channel with anyone who you think might find this helpful. This is a community for seniors, and my job here is to be a voice for you and be a voice for seniors to make sure President Biden keeps his promise to increase Social Security benefits, increase SSI and SSDI, and even approve a stimulus check for seniors in this next stimulus package. So thank you so much for being a part of our community, and if you really want to support my work, subscribe to my second channel and become a channel member as well. The link to both of those are going to be in the comments of this video. And quick shout out to our most recent channel members, Ramona, Karen, Amy, Frankie, and Doris. Thank you so much for supporting our work. This monthly contribution allows me to do this full time, to do the research and bring you the news that affects seniors the most. And you'll also get shout outs on my channel and priority response to comments when you comment on our videos. So thank you so much. And with that said, let's jump right into the update. First, let's do a quick update on daily trending news. First, I want to point out that it looks like things are really ramping up when it comes to President Trump former President Trump running again in 2024. Now, as I was browsing the web last night, this popped up as an ad. And this is from the National Republican Senatorial Committee, and they're actually sending out polls asking, would you vote for Trump a third time? So see, they're actually trying to gauge what the likelihood would be of former President Trump winning or getting votes in the next election. And this committee, what they do is they actually raise funds and put those funds towards the most likely candidates to win in either the general elections or in elections at the Senate level. So as you can see, the Republican Senate is basically trying to gather data as to whether or not former President Trump would have a good chance to win again in 2024. And this kind of shows a lot because they're gathering data, meaning that they're really considering backing President Trump again and putting the Republican National Committee with all that funding and all the advertisements and campaign that goes along with it to really get behind him in 2024. Obviously, they're not decided yet, but the fact that you see these polls popping up, and let me know in the comments if you've been online, if you've seen these polls pop up for you as well. This really goes to show you that the Republican National Committee is trying to gather data and see whether or not Trump would be a good candidate in 2024. Now, as far as stimulus, let's quickly recap what happened with President Trump back when he was in office. Now, if you guys remember, in November, right before the election in 2020, President Trump was pushing for a second stimulus check that would have been $2,000. So President Trump was actually a strong proponent of approving large stimulus checks. And he actually broke with the Republican Party as a whole on this topic because most Republicans at the time wanted to do no stimulus checks, and at most they wanted to do that $600 check, which eventually got approved in December. So Trump had a history of being a strong supporter of more stimulus checks, and he was known to say, you know what, stimulus checks not only help the American people, but they also help win elections. He kind of caught on to this really quickly. And of course, this concept of approving stimulus checks right before elections or after elections is actually the same concept that Democrats used in Georgia last year for those two Senate runoff elections. So Donald Trump caught on to the fact that this was not only a good program to help the American people, but also to help them win re-elections. So a lot of people right now are saying two things. First of all, if former President Trump was still in office, this stimulus check for seniors would already have been approved, especially with these midterm elections coming up in November. A lot of experts think that Trump would have really pushed to get this stimulus check for seniors done even harder than President Biden is currently pushing. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. Obviously, this is all speculation. Nobody knows for sure, but this is what people are currently saying. And I'd be interested to know your thoughts in the comments. Personally, I'm a little undecided. I'm not sure. Now, when you break it down, you can do a really good comparison between how much stimulus President Biden has approved and how much stimulus former President Trump approved. Now, when you go back to the first and the second stimulus check, the first stimulus check was $1,200 and then it was $500 for dependents, and the second stimulus check was $600 with an additional $600 for dependents as well. So if you add those up for a single person, they got $1,200 plus the 600 adding up to $1,800. Now President Biden has only approved one stimulus check and that was $1,400. So for a single person, most people got more stimulus from former President Trump compared to President Biden by about $400. Now, if you compare people with families, President Biden actually, on average, gave more stimulus to people with families because the adult stimulus check was $1,400, but then the stimulus check for dependents was also $1,400 instead of $500 like the first stimulus check. So people with families got a massive amount of stimulus. When you think about a family of two with three children, they got $1,400 for five people. So when it comes to families, it's not even close. Parents with kids, adults with kids, got way more stimulus from President Biden, and single adults got a little more stimulus from President Trump compared to President Biden. Of course, Donald Trump approved more stimulus across the board, being that that was the beginning of the pandemic. He approved more money for unemployment. Of course, they had that massive weekly $600 check for people who are unemployment, on top of all the other stimulus like money for state and local governments, PPP loans for companies to keep paying their employees, things like that. I mean, you can't really compare apples to oranges because that was the beginning of the pandemic, and then President Biden's was really more in the middle of the pandemic. But it's pretty obvious that when it comes to families, President Biden has approved a ton more stimulus, especially when you take into account the monthly stimulus checks that were paid out from July all the way until the end of 2021 on a monthly basis for families with kids. So, this is why a lot of experts are saying that one of the strategies that former President Trump might use for the 2024 election campaign is to say he'll approve more stimulus checks, especially for people who are low income and potentially seniors as well. Now, guys, let me know in the comments. Do you think that's something President Trump will actually try and do? This has been shown to work when it comes to Governor Newsom in California. He won that re-election in 2021 by approving actually a fifth stimulus check at the state level in California. And of course, it worked for Democrats in Georgia for those two Senate runoff seats. So this is something people are speculating about. Now, quite honestly, I'm not really sure about that. The one thing I will say is he was a strong proponent of stimulus and he did want the $2,000 stimulus check. And that is one of the things that actually created this rift between him and Mitch McConnell. Remember, they always kind of had a stressful relationship, but then when Mitch McConnell really didn't want to do a second stimulus check and President Trump wanted a $2,000 check, this was a huge issue between the two, right? President Trump thought the $2,000 check would help him win the re-election. Mitch McConnell, quite frankly, really didn't want Trump to win that re-election. And then, of course, we all know what happened in January, at which point Mitch McConnell said that he basically never wanted to talk to Trump again. Well, this really sparked the beginning of Trump's smear campaign on Mitch McConnell, and it really led Trump down the road of trying to put pressure on getting Mitch McConnell to at least not be the Senate minority or majority leader anymore. Although he's going to be in the Senate until 2027, being on a 6-year term, Mitch McConnell just won re-election last year in 2021. So there's really no getting rid of him in the short term, but basically Trump is trying to get rid of him as far as being the Senate leader of the Republicans. And now at this point, 52% of Republican voters disapprove of Mitch McConnell as former President Trump, has been ramping up his pressure campaign to topple Mitch McConnell from power in the Senate. So this is an interesting dynamic to follow. A lot of it started with the stimulus check, the fact that Mitch McConnell would not support Trump's push for a $2,000 stimulus check. Trump believes that's one of the biggest reasons why he lost the election in 2020. And then not just the general election, but then those 2 Senate seats in Georgia, which Democrats went on to win by promising the $2,000 stimulus check. So as you can see, it's interesting to see how we're not sure how much an effect these stimulus checks had on the election, but we know for sure that they had a large effect on both the general election and on who took control of the Senate, because Democrats promised a $2,000 check if they won both seats in Georgia. They won both seats in the Senate in Georgia, took control of the Senate, and then approved that $2,000 stimulus check, which actually only ended up being $1,400, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So this had a massive effect on who controlled the White House, who controlled the Senate, and now it's looking like people are speculating that President Trump might double down on this strategy, try and say, hey, you know what, we're going to do more stimulus checks if he becomes president once again. And of course, at the same time, he's trying to get rid of Mitch McConnell, which quite frankly could be a good thing. I mean, these last couple of years, we've seen how Mitch McConnell consistently didn't want to approve stimulus, right? The only thing he was okay with was the first stimulus check. He didn't want the $600 stimulus check. He didn't want the $1,400 stimulus check. He doesn't want any more stimulus checks going forward. So Mitch McConnell being out of power in regards to stimulus would be a good thing going forward. So as far as the current stimulus package, obviously things are on a bit of a standstill, but Democrats have promised to continue to push forward, and we do expect to have a lot of updates in the next couple of weeks. So don't forget to subscribe, and I will keep you posted as things develop on the next stimulus package and the potential for having a stimulus check for seniors in that package as well. Now, to end this video, I want to share this headline with you guys asking, how will history judge former President Trump? And let me know in the comments, guys, do you think Trump did a good job in office, a bad job, or somewhere in between? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, for the last couple of decades, there has been a panel of historians that releases a collection of essays analyzing and assessing the accomplishments and failures of the presidential administrations. They did this for President Bush, they did this for Barack Obama, and now they did this for former President Trump as well. So to end this video, I'm going to leave you with this clip of this group of historians really analyzing and saying whether or not they think former President Trump did a good job or a bad job. You're going to see people on both sides arguing for and against President Trump. And let me know your thoughts, guys. I'd be really interested to see what you guys think. A lot of people think he was doing a relatively good job until the pandemic hit and things kind of got a little crazy then. Obviously, that would have been a difficult situation for anybody to handle, but his critics say that he could have done a much better job. Of course, then we had the whole chaos when it comes to the elections and with what happened on January 6th. So if you'd like to stick around, let's take a quick look, see how the historians say President Trump measures up when it comes to other presidents. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video.
He came in to be a disruptor, and of all of his accomplishments, I think it's very easy to say that he accomplished that one.
Jeffrey Engel, director of the Center for Presidential History at Southern Methodist University, is one of a group of historians from leading universities around the country who convened via Zoom last March.
His concept of the national interest was identical with his concept of his own interest.
Trump inherited a mess. It was not that he created a mess. The Middle East was in very bad shape.
Their mission, assessing one of the most unusual presidencies in American history.
This presidency has now ended, one of the most unstable, unconventional.
Julian Zelizer of Princeton assembled the panel, which will soon publish a book of essays on the Trump presidency.
One thing that historians who have lived through the moment have, that historians 200 years from now won't have, is a sense of what it felt like to live in the moment.
It will be the third volume in a series which offered mixed assessments of George W. Bush and Barack Obama. In fact, we spoke with 4 of the historians who all agree that history's judgment of Donald Trump is likely to focus on 2 major events: his response to the coronavirus pandemic and his role in the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol.